This thing will fucking start. Jesus.
Yeah, I never understood what that safety cone is.
Funny story, I actually threw up in front of his office.
Tastes like shit. Don't be gross.
Yellowmouth Yuck Yuck revival. Here we go.
Yuck Yuck. Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's yucking time.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the YYPP Yuck Yuck Productions podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Christensen. And with me again is Kaishon. We've actually been talking a while. I think he's going to be the official in-studio co-host. So everybody, welcome Kaishon.
Yeah, man. I'm here sniffing into this microphone.
And we're multi-track now. He brought his Yeti.
Dude, it's so much better. You can hear me now, can't you? You can hear my every move.
Get all that milk chocolate, baby.
Internal movement.
All right. Other housekeeping stuff. Oh, yeah. So we didn't have an episode last week. Super sorry about that. So,
gotta be consistent, man. Shame on you.
It was a personal stuff. I'll leave it at this just so that way people get an explanation. I did a podcast with a close friend, some dudes online. It wasn't a very good podcast to start with, and I didn't really want to upload it. And then me and that friend got into a big fight. He blocked me on everything. Then he unblocked me and said, don't upload that. And then reblocked me again. And I'm like, all right.
Whoa.
Whatever, man. So it was a big bummer, but sorry, guys. Shit happens.
We're back.
Any other housekeeping stuff?
I don't know, man. I don't know your life.
Kaishon's new co-host. No episode last week. Yeah, I think that's it. So I'm going to start off show with a story. Kaishon and I were talking about For the Stone. And now,
it's not funny. I should be laughing.
You know what? That's how comedians deal with their shit, though.
That's true. You laugh when you're uncomfortable. People say that all the time.
And Joey Diaz's, he does the Church of What's Happening Now podcast.
Okay.
He always says, like, even when he found his mom dead on the floor, he was cracking jokes like, I'll never have to go to school again.
Ooh. Dark. Okay.
But I mean, that's just how some people deal with their shit. So hold on, let me pull up the article real quick.
He's pulling up the article. Meanwhile, I'll take some time to mention that Nathan has a very nice Sublime shirt on, and I'm digging it. It's got some like psychedelic roses. Long Beach, California. Yeah.
Okay. So this morning, last night I was hanging out with the chick or whatever. Started walking home. Walk up in the driveway. And my father's there. He's like, hey, can you drive this truck over to this shop so we can replace the windshield, It's my uncle's truck. And so, yeah, sure. And we're talking about my uncle, and he's up in the Sun Valley area. And I was like, hey, Dad, a long time ago, this guy named Will Smith.
You need to clarify.
I'll clarify in a second. It's not that Will Smith. It's different Will Smith.
Yeah. He's, even talking about high school stuff, we knew the good old Willie.
Yeah. So he told me a long time ago that I should move up to Sun Valley because there's good money up there, like a lot of rich people. But this was
right.
He was up there back in the Coke days. Sun Valley just opened the ski resort and stuff. So money was flowing in. Like, that was a very wealthy town. So you could move up there, find work, get paid well. Cost of living's higher, but...
And do cocaine, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and do blow, whatever.
Oh, man.
Fuck, now I can't find the goddamn article. Oh, well. If you guys want to look it up, the short version... Anyway, my dad... tells me, that Will Smith guy is a child molester, right? Like, he's convicted and in jail. And
Jeez,
I'm like,
man.
you're shitting me, right? Like, this is not for real. And he's like, no, not messing with you. So my dad just drops that on me, then casually leaves to go to work.
in your dad fashion. Your dad's a G, dude.
And I was thinking, like, the reason I knew Will Smith is because when I was in the Mormon church, he lived in a retirement home close to me. And so we'd go to the retirement home to do the sacrament services for them. And
yeah, I remember that.
Every time I went over there, he'd always invite me over for pork chops or some good spicy Southern cooking, and you know, have a couple soda pops, right? But that was like a normal thing for everyone, like that did the sacrament for him. For whatever reason, I started looking up online. Like, first thing I just went to the database of all the crimes in Idaho. Nothing popped up under his name and date of birth. I had to do some Facebook snooping to get his birthday, but I got it. Looked it up, nothing.
Right.
So I looked up for news articles instead, and turns out he has HIV, and he got convicted for. They left it anonymous. Is the crazy part, for fucking around with a 16 or 17-year-old ungendered person. They didn't say if it was a boy or a girl.
Jeez, man.
So my guess is, since it was only boys that were allowed to go over there and do the sacrament form, that it was a boy. And I think I might have narrowed it down to a person, but I'm not going to dox them. And then I started turning my wheels back, you know, because I knew him a long time ago.
Right.
I remember one time specifically, I was hanging out there after the services. He made me pork chops and gave me a couple pops or whatever, mashed potatoes. It was good stuff. And I got really, really, really tired afterward. Now, at 14, you don't take naps. Like, you just don't. You know?
It's true, man. You got too much energy. I had too much energy. I was trying to hit on.
Yeah, you're trying to bang all the time.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but I was definitely trying to talk to chicks for sure.
Or something, you know, right? And it's just not. I don't want to say that for sure he drugged me. But he might have. All right. Anyways, I passed out on his bed. Like I said, I was like 14 or 15 at the time, so I'm in that same age area. And then, like 15 minutes later, I remember I was not asleep that long. I woke up groggy as fuck, wanting to go back to sleep. But someone else from the church came over to talk to him, who was also in my age group, that I think I might have invited over, but I don't remember for sure. A lot of this is speculation. But, I mean, I've been to the doctor and gotten blood work plenty of times for, like, mono and stuff. So HIV would have turned up in there.
Yeah, man.
If I got HIV. But anyways, the guy got convicted for giving HIV to a 16 or 17-year-old person that we do not know the sex of. And my dad told me he was in jail. And so when I was digging around, snooping around with this, turns out he was indicted to Missouri and to do 15 years probation outside of jail and a $5,000 fine.
Jeez, man.
And it was weird because Cosby just got convicted last week or the week before, I can't remember. And he got, well, I think it was 1 to 10 years. Like, it was super big, but it's like, we were talking about it before, white collar prison, that's 3 months good time.
Right.
Good behavior. I mean, and this guy got off pretty much scot-free. Like, he's got to go in and do a piss test every couple weeks or whatever, and he paid his $5,000. Like, that receipt's in the system.
Yeah, man, that's tough.
It was just something I was thinking about. Because, I mean,
yeah,
how do you not, like, you
that's
almost,
scary,
like, how
dude.
do you sit down with yourself and be like, hey, you almost got HIV when you were 14?
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. That's not an easy thing to process, man. That's like, it's like knowing that your mother was a serial killer or something.
Yeah. Just some shit, bro.
Right? Like they were hiding bodies under your bed. You're like, that's why the carpet was red. I always thought it was supposed to be white.
Some shit, bro.
That's crazy, man. That's some heavy stuff to start off the podcast.
I know, man. I was like, I gotta talk about this. Maybe I shouldn't.
No,
I
yeah. No, you're here,
I
man.
felt
It's
good
all...
just to like concise it. I'll get it off my chest because it was a big concern. Like I think I still might go back to the doctor and just like get a double check.
Check for sure.
Maybe they don't check for HIV in a mono test. You know,
dang, man.
Running the blood work that way.
Well, and it might be I mean, I'm definitely not sure about this, but I think that HIV and other diseases like that sometimes can be dormant for a long. Like they won't show signs, like cancer. Maybe won't show signs for a little while. That's the hard part about it. I don't think that you got AIDS though, dude. But you should always check for sure. You're right.
Yeah.
Just to be positive.
Well, I mean, I went and got an STD check when I was like 18. That was 2 years ago. So I mean, like something should have popped up by then.
Yeah, man. It wouldn't. You're right. I don't think it would take like that long if you're HIV positive. But
yeah, I'm sure I'm fine, but it just concerned the fuck out of me, bro.
Yeah, we're here. You're still alive.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you look back and you're like, God damn, holy
Jeez,
shit, like, what
man.
the fuck? That's all your brain can like process.
Nice
Like I still
sentiments,
can't
exactly.
fully, you know. Let me double check, see if I can find this article real quick.
Yeah, and what was crazy is that like I remember you had invited me to church, and then so I went to your church for a day or whatever, and then we had gone to Will Smith's house after that, and like everybody knows, like I was talking to the Hatch boys, they know Will Smith, like you guys know him, like he was in you guys' lives, so that's really, that's scary. That's the dangers of sexual predators. Why you gotta be a sexual predator, man? Why can't you be a plumber or something?
Okay, here's the article from MagicValley.com. A Twin Falls County grand jury has indicted a 75-year-old man on felony counts of sexual battery of a child and transferring of bodily fluids containing the HIV virus. Grand jury proceedings are sealed to the public, but with the indictment said William Billy Smith of Twin Falls is accused of performing oral sex on a child who was 16 or 17 years old while knowing he had HIV or AIDS sometime between December 1st, 2013 and May 1st, 2015.
Jeez Louise, man.
I just realized that's within the age of consent for Idaho because we're a 16 state.
Yeah, and that's also within the age of us being there.
I was this age then.
Bro, that's crazy, man. I went over to his house too. That's ridiculous.
The indictment said that Smith did transfer or attempt to transfer bodily fluid to his victim by oral or genital contact. So this is why he got off. I just realized that. Yeah, this is why he got off so clean. Was because there was no rape charge.
Yeah.
That means it only cost you $5,000 and 15 years probation to give someone HIV, bro. Jeez, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's a little much, man.
The crazy part too is there's a second article, and they talk about how he got indicted to Missouri and stuff, and the only reason he got probation because the family said we're cool with it.
Right.
Which I'm like,
what?
Well, the child's only 16, 17, so they're within the age of consent, but they're not allowed to make the adult decision if they want to press charges or not.
Yeah. So their parents are like, nah.
On their parents, and so that parent just got $5,000 because their kids got AIDS.
Wow.
So I think either someone from the Mormon Church, this is conspiracy. Let me just say that this is conspiracy.
Yeah.
That either someone from the church started putting their fingers where they weren't supposed to.
Define that.
Not the Catholic kind, but like
clarify.
The legal kind. I felt like someone called in a favor somewhere or something.
Yeah, man, that's not a regular situation. You can't just.
Who would be okay with that, bro?
Yeah, that's not good. I mean, of course, we don't know, so everything's speculation.
I might have to do. I
don't
want to dox the person,
for sure.
But I could probably find them today if I really wanted to, and I really want to because I want to know who it is.
Right.
Because it would make sense because he was a 70-something-year-old bachelor.
Yeah, that's tough,
that was
man.
Always having to take like 80 different medications and stuff. Like, it makes sense that he would
He was
have
always long.
HIV.
Yeah.
And like it's around the same time as the AIDS scare too, of when he would have been up in Sun Valley with all the rich people
Sure, man.
working the ski resort and stuff. So
Yeah, that's not easy. I mean, of all the things, AIDS is definitely not something you want to play around with. It's definitely a serious thing. It can, I don't know. That's weird that they wouldn't, that they wouldn't press charges on something like that. It's tough. That is tough, brother.
I just can't see why.
Right.
That's the only thing, bro. It's just like,
Why would you perpetuate that or something like,
I don't know, man. What you got?
tough.
What's new with you?
You know, there's been a lot. I mean, I think that the political climate right now, there's been a lot of talk of sexual assault and abuse that's like gone under the radar.
I'm a Me Too now. Yeah. I'm a Me Too. Or I was almost.
That's crazy.
Me Too.
That's crazy, man.
I was almost Cosby'd.
Well, that's good. I mean, but that also brings up a good point where it's like, these things happen. I mean, of course, I don't want to open up a can of worms, but let's just say that, both genders can be affected at some times.
Yeah. I mean.
And that's tough.
I was way passed out on his bed.
Right, right.
I'm not saying he roofied me, but if he did, he definitely just could have had his way with me.
Yeah, that's messed up, man. So, yeah. I don't know that I have anything other than, just general grinding, man. I've been listening to Gary Vee a lot. I mean, I already listened to Gary Vee, but if you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, he's the man. And I was just telling Nathan he's got to get his Instagram game up if he wants to grow his audience. You got organic reach, man. You've also got Facebook marketing that you can play into. We don't want to get too. We gotta get to some funny stuff, man. We gotta steer away from the heavy. I don't want to get nerdy either, because then it's just like no.
I wanted to get religious too.
But that's good. Yeah. All right, like we'll go there.
You want to go into some Bible stuff?
Sure, man.
All right.
I mean, I don't know much scripture.
You're good, buddy.
But we're good.
So
here we are.
This might be a little bit sacrilege.
Sure.
Start off with that. Just because I don't. I just want to put everything in relatable layman's terms for everyone.
Sure. No, you're good.
That maybe isn't an avid reader of the Bible. So, chapter we'll be discussing is St. Matthew chapter 13.
Okay.
All right. So, verse 1. The same day went Jesus out of the house and sat by the seaside. So Jesus goes to the beach.
Yeah.
A great multitudes were gathered together unto him, so that he went into a ship and sat. The whole multitude stood on the shore.
Mm-hmm.
So a bunch of people came over to hear him speak. He got on a boat, in a dock or something, while everyone stood on the beach and just waited. So he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went forth to sow. A sower is kind of like a farmer, someone who plants seeds. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came up and devoured them up.
Right.
Some fell upon stony places. They had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up, because they had no depthness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell upon thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But others fell into good ground and brought forth fruit, and some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. And the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto them in parables? And he answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. So, this whole first section.
Yeah. I think basically Jesus is saying, hey, man, I'm your buddy, and I'm like the son of God. Like, you're getting direct access to whatever it is that I got. But these people over here, they might not get it, but you guys are also chosen. It's not like, I mean, they might have been regular people, but they were chosen for a reason. Jesus only knows that, right?
Help
So it's
spread
like
the word of God.
yeah, it's teaching
acknowledges,
anything.
like, hey, you guys get this, but not everyone does.
Yeah.
So it's a parable is just a metaphor.
Yep, has to be. I mean, it's the same thing with modern teaching. When I teach dance, I have to use metaphors.
Yeah.
If I say, what's a good metaphor that I would use? Oh, when I say you got to be offset in closed position. Lady has to be a little to your right. You have to be a little to the lady's right. I always say, skis. We ski in Idaho, don't we? Like if you had skis on, you don't want to cross your skis. You want to make sure that the skis line up parallel with each other. So you're just going to have your left ski right in between the feet of your partner and the other ski on the outside of her foot. And that's how you get offset. People are like, I've been skiing before. That's amazing. Okay.
And they get it.
Yep, they get it.
Goes to teaching a metaphor.
That's all a parable is just a story that people are like, you know what? I know
it's like
what a sower is.
Yeah.
I know what a farmer is. I know how seeds are yielded.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so
is that my spirit?
Yeah. The seeds are just a metaphor of people all over the earth, and whether you're born into the religion,
right,
of Christianity or Catholicism, whichever flavor of Christianity, But he's saying that it's spread all over, and it's some people get it, some people don't.
Right.
And it also goes to show, like, I think this is a little bit me speculation.
Sure.
But I feel like it also goes towards like different classes of wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Saying that it is possible, no matter where your seeds are thrown, to either be good or bad in the religion, or to either go with God or with not. It's possible to go either way. It doesn't matter how much money you make.
Yeah,
or,
it's true, man.
How shitty your situation is, or how good your situation is. Like you said, they got some of the seeds got thrown into places of good sunrise, but they didn't have any roots to like suck up water, so they grow up and the sun just burns them.
Yeah, it's true. That is. I mean, you could consider that privilege.
Yeah, part of being rooted in your faith.
Yeah, being rooted in your faith, but also just being in a situation in which you have everything given to you, and yet you still, squander the gifts that you've given. I mean, it goes like, so it's interesting because that's one of the big things that Gary Vee talks about is it's like because he's a Russian immigrant. He's a Belarusian immigrant. So he's from Belarus. And he talks about, how he wishes everybody was an immigrant because then, they would understand two things. They'd understand how freaking hard they work, and they'd understand not having anything. And so not coming from much gives them a tactical advantage because they're not soft, and so they can build that up. Not saying that people who...
They know how to pinch a fucking penny, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Not saying that people who have privilege are automatically soft, but the statistics show that if you're given things and you're pandered to and and you can just ask for whatever you want and it's given to you, then that puts you just in a different arena. I mean, you can still succeed, of course, and you can still use that money for good, but the likelihood of you doing that is a little lower. Whereas, I mean, and again, it's both sides. So in poverty, there's people that are just lazy and they don't, and they're stuck in the ghetto, or they might not be lazy. Maybe they have a mental illness, or whatever makes them stay there.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, family.
So
whatever.
Hold on to that thought.
Right.
Because this is where it gets important.
Right.
And I've been talking about this in the podcast a lot.
Sure.
Verse 12. For whosoever hath to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he hath. The rich get richer, and the poor get poorer, bro.
Yeah. You might want that ESV translation next time. The King James version is a bit dense.
Yeah.
There's
and so I talked about this in the last podcast with WikiLeaks on weed, my boys, And it was, for a while there, it was causing a weird spiral of depression for me. Because it's like, you can just be born into absolute dog shit and just live a shit life.
It's true. I think the Bible also talks about if you have much, then greater are you to give that away. If you have wealth, you should give it away. And so ideally, if you interpret it as that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, I think it's considering where your mindset is at.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason why I think it was fucking me up for two reasons.
Right.
First of all,
sorry.
God bless your soul.
Thanks, man.
First reason being that I think my idea of balance was mischaracterized. I was thinking of balance as being fair, which is not the case.
Yeah. No, it's definitely not fair. No, you're absolutely right, man. And it's funny. I'm telling you, you got to listen to this guy, man. Gary Vee, he's hilarious, but and he's really good. He talks about that where it's like, okay, you have adversity, right? You were born black, or you were born Asian, or you were born Hispanic in the era of Donald Trump, or you were born, sorry, I don't mean to get political, or you were born, you were born in a third world country, or you were born a sex slave, and but what he talks about, he's like, okay, now what? That happened. That's reality. It's true. There's nothing you can really do about that, but now what? Are you... And the decision isn't right either way. If you decide to let that become something that consumes your life, you're not wrong. No one's blaming you for that, right? You had bad stuff happen to you. Or you can take that and put that into a different position, and is that the right way? Who knows? It's up to you, right? And so it's like, but what he also says is he's like, the market's the market, right?
Exactly.
And so exactly. So if you're here and you have these things happen to you, nothing's fair. Like, all those things happen to you, but the world doesn't care, man. The world goes on. The market goes on. People go on, right? And so as soon as you realize that and get inside yourself and are like, okay, now that I understand that nobody cares, like if I'm complaining, my mom cares, my dad cares, close friend cares, but the world that I'm trying to succeed in, podcasting, YouTubing, business, whatever,
don't give a shit.
They don't care, right? They have their own business. They got their own stuff. They just want to see you produce. And if you can produce and turn that into something beautiful, then they care, right?
Yeah.
But it's not, to me, it's not even brutal. Like, to me, it's like, okay, like, why should I want people to care? Like, I understand they have their own things to worry about.
The thing too is, like, if everything's fair, then nothing's valuable.
Yep. It's true.
If you were living check to check, and you're like, God damn, it would be great to be a millionaire right now, right?
Yeah.
Play the lottery, some shit.
Yeah.
The only reason you want $1 million is because you're only making, $800 a month living check to check.
Yeah. Yeah, and plus, you'll always want more. Once you get to $1 million, you want $2 million. Once you get to $2 million, you want $4 million. Yeah. But also, with that money and getting to $1 million, you'll do, if that's truly what you want, you'll do what you have to do to get there. Or you won't. Yeah. And that's it.
Or you'll be happier, at a lower amount. Like, you don't feel like...
Yeah.
Like we talked about income before the last time. Not everyone wants to be a millionaire. Some people just want to make $40,000 a year and have their kids.
Yeah, it's true. And people are absolutely happy doing that. And that's the thing, is that you can't, if you're in that situation, the hard thing is so here's the situation, right? If you have a friend, because I've had this happen to me, but I won't name any specific names. You have a friend, you talk to your friend, and they communicate dreams to you, right? They communicate ideas. Like, when you talk to them philosophically, they're like, this is the stuff that I want to do, and you can see a light in their soul. And then you're like, well, what are you doing? And they're like, well, I'm working at the gas station. It's not that working at the gas station is the bad part. If that is your life dream to work at a gas station, then you made it, baby. Then you made it. You're there. Like, you congratulate. Like, you're happier than I am. Like, awesome. Like, that's great. But if not, you just told me, and I just saw in your eyes and in your soul that you want to go to Italy, for instance. Like, maybe it's your dream to go to Italy. Italy is, like, for some reason, the greatest place on earth, and you just want to live there and do your thing. If I saw that inside of you, and I like looked at you and we had a heartful conversation about that, and then you didn't do that, that's when I started being like, okay, man, like, it's not that I'm judging you, it's just that you told me.
Nuts, bro.
Yeah, like,
you told me you want to do this, get on this shit.
You told me, I saw it in your soul. You can't lie to me now. You can't say, well, that, I wasn't actually serious about that. No, I saw it. Like, I know where you're coming from.
The same principle, as far as money goes, I mean, it applies to all things.
Yeah.
Life is only valuable because some people die when they're a baby.
That's true, man. Yeah, it's true, and it's a hard thing for people. I mean, with
balance doesn't always mean fair, man.
Yeah,
that's a rough reality, but
it's not because, and you have to consider it's something that we talked about last time too. Is that like with the economy, everybody has their purpose and their place. Like in an economy, you need people to build steel. You need people to weld things. You need people to repair cars. You need people to deliver your sausage egg McMuffin to you in the morning, or so you think you need, right? If you want that to happen, then you have to understand that somebody has to be there to get there until we make robots. And then, that's a different story. But until then, somebody has to be there to run that. And so everybody has their place. And what's hard is that when you are considering your future, everybody wants to be the shining star. Everybody wants to be the best, and maybe they're not the best, and that's a hard pill to swallow. Like you just said, balance isn't fair. Somebody could be gifted with better genetics. Like, there's nothing you can do about that other than have enough self-awareness to realize, okay,
am I going to have to work harder than the next guy to make him more?
Yeah, exactly. If I'm going to, and you also have to consider, so like, you have to let go of pride too. Like say, we can use podcasting because that's the most relevant example. If you're not a charismatic person, if you can't carry on a conversation, you're super introverted, and every time the podcast mic turns on, you're like sucking into your soul, right? You can't really do anything. Then maybe you might consider bringing on a partner. Maybe you're the editor, and you're not the actual voice, but you're just as important because you're making art behind the screen. Like it's those type of things where you have to consider, where is my purpose as a human in this situation, and is it the star, or is it the editor, or is it the audio engineer, or is it the programmer,
Yeah.
And then you get to that. So
the second point I was going to make is actually kind of a superset of the first.
Right.
Was I was taking that specific verse out of context because that verse actually turns into a scientific principle called the Pareto number, I think. The Pareto, something like that. Starts with P. We talked about it on that WikiLeaks and podcast, which it basically means 10% or the square root of a population controls half the wealth of blank, aka the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. It's which side of that peak you're on.
Yeah.
And the problem was I was taking that specific verse out of context because of whatever else I was studying.
Right.
And the fairness of it kept on eating and eating and eating at me. I'm like, man, how fucked is this world? Because I know in my heart, like, that's true. Not because it's a religious thing, but like I said before, it's harder for a homeless man to be less homeless than it is to get more homeless. And it's easier for a rich person to get richer than it is to go broke.
Right.
So if you look at it just like fundamentally and break stuff down, like it's totally true.
Yeah, and so then you get into the philosophy of like the tipping point, right? So it takes and to me, this is a good communication of like how success works, right?
Yeah.
You build and you build and you build. You build the infrastructure, right? What's the hardest thing of the house to build? What takes the longest? Pouring the concrete and building the frame, right? That takes forever. As soon as that's up, drywall, spackle, paint, everything else is bam, 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 bam. That's why you think that you see a house go up, in a minute, because you look at it and you've been looking at these people digging down in the ground and making sure everything's solid for months. But then all of a sudden in one day, frames up, walls are up, and you're like, whoa, like what? That
Next
came
day,
up.
Roofs up, paint's on.
Yeah, and it's a perfect analogy. And again, only because this is what I've been listening to lately. But Gary Vee talks about that, where it's like, everybody says, he was a success overnight. Or someone could say that you're a success overnight, but what they don't see is the infrastructure that you've been building forever to get that. So it's the same thing with your podcast.
Most things develop on like a J curve where you start out and then you kind of go down and then you get up and all of a sudden you have a huge spike almost straight up. And that's how most YouTube channels develop too.
Yeah,
like
that's
you'll
absolutely
see
true.
someone go slowly growing up to like 3K and then all of a sudden boom, they're at 1 million.
Well, yeah, because you got to understand, like with social media, and that's what we were talking about with Instagram, is that's the rate at things that things travel at, which is like,
because once
it's an exponential thing.
Yeah.
You get 2 people tell 2 more people, that's 4 people tell 4 more people, that's 8 people. Eventually, you're just out of it. So you're absolutely right. That's it's very inspirational to know as a human if you understand that, because then you know that there will be a point in your success where, just like a roller coaster, you'll be fighting your way up this freaking mountain. And
no, it's not a roller coaster straight up. I mean, it's like climbing straight up a surface.
Yeah, like mountain climbing, grips, bro. I guess it'd be like if you climbed the hard rock face of a mountain with skis on your back, and then you got to the top and you skied down the other side.
Yeah,
it's true.
So
man.
The important thing
like
here
butter
is like, you can't just take like random stuff out of context and try to apply it to your life, It's like, if there's something that's bothering you, man, you need to research the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
Because once you throw in the parable of the sower, it makes sense on, fair is not balanced.
Yep. Yeah, and it's wherever you start too, man. You got to fight for that life, man. You got to fight for your passion, and don't let it go too.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just be like, okay, this isn't working, so I guess after I post my first thing and 3,000 people aren't watching it already, I better just quit.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that. You gotta. It takes that's the other thing, and that's what also rules people out, I think, in these situations, is it takes consistency, and like. So there's a difference. There's also a difference between testing and consistency, right? So if your reason for not being consistent is that you're testing things, like you're testing certain content, you're testing long form written word against a pretty picture versus short words to a pretty picture, or not so pretty picture but long. Like if you're testing things and you're testing other platforms, you're experimenting on other, like all that can, that's just you trying to figure out what the best is. But if you just post one thing, no one likes it, and you give up, I mean, you're never gonna.
Then you won't. It's not like that one video is gonna blow up overnight. That's just not how any of the algorithms work.
It's the algorithm of the universe, man. That's how everything works.
It seems like it anyway.
Yeah, and I'd say it is true. It's like with life. You get up in the morning, and what is the first thing that life does? It punches you right in the face. Says get back down. But then you get back up, and you're like, nah, I got to get up. I got things to do, right? It's the first thing that happens. The universe, it's not that the universe wants you to fail. It's just that the universe is testing you. It's like, hey, do you really want this? Because it's hard. And you're like, frick you, man.
I'm sorry, bro. My stories are not I swear like a sailor, Brother Sean is not...
I'm trying not...
Is not a man of the
cursing
word.
Just so you know, I do curse, but I'm really trying to not curse lately. It's something I've added to my life in the last couple of weeks. I think it's because I'm going through a discipleship track.
I'm testing him.
You're testing me. I'm trying
He's
got
it.
I'm going to have an aneurysm.
Just one day you'll just you'll come into my bedroom studio, pissed at something, you're like, bro, I gotta talk about this. And then be spitting fire all over the table in here.
Oh, jeez, man. But anyways, yeah, I mean, it's true, man. You can't, I guess the moral of the story is that no matter the circumstances you get in life, if you work hard enough and you are self-aware, you know who you are, because that's the other thing, is you can't just go down a rabbit hole of chasing a bone that you're not. If you're not a dog, then you're not a dog. Like if you're trying to chase that bone, you might be a mouse, and that bone's too big for you. You can't jump on it. But you go find some cheese somewhere else, right? I mean, it's just the same. And so be realistic with yourself. And once you find that thing, chase it like a mouse on cheese, man. Eat it all up. Don't get hit by the trap, though. Break your neck. Get thrown in the garbage can. Then Big Sean will have to come over and put you out of your misery. The hammer. So just a segue. This is a horrible segue, but just so you know, since we were talking about trauma earlier, one of the things that I remember distinctly from my childhood is this one time my mom had me, like, we had a mouse infestation. Okay, nobody called PETA. All right, this is years ago. I'm not as brutal now, but
was it rats or mice?
It was mice.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely wasn't rats. That would have been even more brutal.
Yeah.
But anyways, it was mice, and they were like, so I remember it was in our Lazy Susan, and if you don't know what a Lazy Susan is, it's like a corner cupboard, and it's the thing that like rotates, like you open up it and it like folds out like an accordion, and it's anyways. These freaking mice had built a colony behind our kitchen wall, and they had this little hole. And so my mom's like, you got to kill all those. But this is how poor we were. We were too poor to buy a large amount of mouse traps. We could have bought like 4, but there were like 100 mice in that freaking thing. Like literally just an infestation. So I come over here, Big Sean back then, with a freaking claw hammer. And I sat at it for 6 hours and watched these mouse come out and whap! Bring them out. Sorry, I just yelled in your ear. Whap, whap, whap. And just bat them over the head. Get him out there. Bat him over the head.
Brother.
Boom, boom, boom. I killed like 60 mice. I decimated their... I was probably like 12, I think. 11, 12.
Bro. Oh, man. That's got to fuck up a kid.
Yeah. I don't know how I got out. There's a lot of things that happened that I saw that I was just like... But for some reason, I don't know, man. I turned out all right. So if I turned out all right... You can too.
This thing keeps on fucking shifting.
Yeah, it's because I'm hitting the table and it's doing this. Don't worry. We're working on the video quality.
Oh, yeah. Next week.
Sean's
bringing in his cameras.
It's going to be lit. We got to go get those lights too, man. We got to set the mood.
Oh, yeah.
We got to create a budget for it. If you want success, and then we'll talk about Instagram. But anyways, that's post. It's post-production. We won't talk about that. Yeah, man. Let's talk about some funny stuff. Let's dive down into that's the religion for the day. Let's get into some high school stuff for the day. What do we got for
old school stories?
Yeah, we got to go down the memory lane again, man. That was fun. My girlfriend enjoyed that too. She was very pleased.
That's good.
With some of the stories. Some of the other stories, she's like, shouldn't have said
Which
that.
ones did she go?
Oh, probably the Delaney story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Blondie, my bad. You'll have to bleep
Just
that.
leave it in. Fuck it. No, I'm not kidding anymore. I'm like, I don't not want to edit this shit anymore. We're doing raw cuts.
Oh,
no
man.
fucking up from here on out.
Oh,
You
man.
get doxxed, I'm sorry.
Uh-oh. Okay, but anyways, yeah. So, what was I was talking to somebody about the transition from middle school to freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
And what that was like for me. It was super weird because I got taken away from my mom in that period. I got taken away from my mom at the end of freshman year going into sophomore year. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I lived in Jerome. Well, I lived in Boise, and then I lived in Jerome for a long time. That was crazy, man. I was commuting from Jerome to Twin. Like, that doesn't seem like much, but honestly, like, that was out of the way. But it was because of dudes like Nathan, man. I was like, I don't want to be taken away from my friends, Grandma. I was super fragile, going through some stuff. I was like, if anything stays in my life, it must be my friends. They are my heartbeat.
And my PlayStation, Grandma.
And my PlayStation. And my katana.
Yeah. And your...
And my bowken.
And your arsenal of sharp pointing weapons.
Yeah, and my hakama and my knife collection. Please. No, but yeah, it was crazy. So transitioning from 8th grade to 9th grade was ridiculous because it's just a whole nother game, bro. It was like, what? I remember because I was an actor in Mr. Haycock's class and I got cast. I was one of the only a couple freshmen historically that had been cast in a senior show, and they totally typecasted me. I had an afro and I was black, and they casted me as a character that needed an afro and was black. And so thank God I'm black, man. I got cast in that part. And I remember because we did a school show for the imaginary invalid, and I kissed a senior in that play. I kissed like one of the hottest seniors in school, and it changed my life forever.
Cup of feel.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
I like how you went. Yeah, oh wait, no.
No. I didn't cop a feel, man. I think she thought I was though. Like one time, legit, Haycock
You're a
was
big
like,
scary black man.
"Oh no." All right.
Like I said,
We've
it's
talked-
Idaho, bro.
Yeah. So no, we talked about So Mr. Haycock was like, yeah. So, and it was probably my fault and the senior's fault too. But he was like, yeah, we need that kiss to be longer because like right now it just kind of looks like you're scared of her. You know, you're not really. And I was like, okay. And so
Were you scared of her or was she scared of you?
So I think it was both. I was nervous because like Kaishon wasn't a dog, man. It wasn't until my senior year that I started like really trying to dissect the game, man. And even then I don't really play games. But anyways, so he's like, yeah, it needs to be longer. So I go to Taylor and I'm like, hey, Mr. Haycock says the kiss needs to be longer. She's like, fuck you, dude. Like, what? She's like, no. He did not say that. And I was like, no, he really did. She's like, no, he did not. I'm going to go ask him right now. She thought I was trying to get
to put the
it.
moves on her.
Oh, man.
Did you guys do that stage kiss thing where you put your thumbs together?
No, dude,
full
that
on
is
mouth?
that does not exist, brother. It is.
That's not a thing?
No, that is.
That's not a thing.
People
do?
thought so. What's funny is that then my sophomore year, my junior year, somewhere in there, we did a show called Boeing. And Boeing is about this dude named Bernard, who's a polygamist. He has 3 wives. And the way that he manages his 3 wives, they're all air hostesses. So one flies out as the other one flies in. And then they just rotate like that, right? And so the farcical nature of the show, all his wives end up in the same place at the same time because Delta was like delayed, and then there was like a hurricane in Italy or so. Yeah. And so anyways, they all end up, and so his thing is like his friend that he brings over to show, because his friend hasn't been seeing him since high school. He brings him to his house to show him everything that he's accomplished, and then he tells him about his wives and everything. But then his friend ends up like taking some of his wives from him, and then it's like this huge thing where they're trying to hide girl, like at the same time as his friend helping him hide his wives and like bathrooms and things, and everything's like back and forth, and they're trying to hide from him. He also is like making out with them in the closet or whatever. Anyways, so I'm not going to name the person again, but one of the actors in the show, we had to kiss because I had to kiss all 3 of them. And like some might have like make out, and I was getting like assaulted basically. But anyways, one of the gals was like, okay, I'm ready for my kiss now. And she like brought her cheek to me, like kind of like off. And I'm like, what are you doing? And Mr. Haycock's like, yeah, what are you doing? She's like, well,
bitch, yes him.
and she was like, well, isn't it like isn't it a fake kiss? And he's like, no, it's not. What are you talking about? It's it has to be a real kiss. And she's like, oh, I thought like in the movies. And he's like, no, in the movies it's real. What do you mean? It's like close up on their lips. It's real kissing. And she's like, okay. And so we kissed, and it was kind of awkward. But anyway, it's like, yeah, that's a misconception, man. There's no fake kissing and acting. Why do you think there's controversy?
Fucking weird, bro. Just watch kiss.
Oh, man.
We're fucking around.
No, but yeah, that was, I remember that. So anyways, back to the other story. Yeah. She thought I was messing around with her, dude. She thought I was trying to be up there. So nah, I wasn't. Just for the record, I was trying to be a good boy. I'm just doing what I'm told. Mr. Haycock said I had to tell you. Yeah, it was an interesting situation. That's my trend. That's all I remember from the transition, man. That was a dark time in my life. I just remember. Oh yeah, and I remember like thinking that I wasn't gonna see any of you, and then I saw all of you. You know, like when you're in 8th grade, you feel like, all right, it's a new leaf.
It's the start of high school.
Yeah, you're like, I'm going to turn a new leaf, man. I'm going to become a new person. Going to dye my hair orange. Something. No, not that. But yeah, it was basically that, man. High school's hilarious.
I remember, because like I talked about on the podcast before, bullied all the way through
Sure.
middle school. And at the start of high school, everything was cool.
Mhm.
Everyone laid off. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, we had this one English teacher that had no control over our classroom, bro. Like, she could not do shit to any of those kids.
Mm.
And, like, she just let us fuck off half the week. And one time, this guy literally stands up in class and calls me, like, a fat ass or something like that. And I look at the teacher, and she makes eye contact with me, and then just goes back to whatever she was doing at her desk. And I was like, okay. So you just, like, I said it out loud. So I'm like, you're just going to let that go? Okay. And then I didn't say anything after that. And then they all started kind of chiming in. And then people, like, fucked with me and took my binder or something. And then after that, I kind of did something that's kind of fucked up, but it worked. And I don't think anyone got hurt in the end. I went to...
That's never a good way to start a sentence.
Bullying's a big issue in schools, man.
Yeah, it
and
is.
A lot
It's
of kids,
true. You're right.
A lot of kids commit suicide because they get bullied, and they think that this is the world and like this is all that matters. So I just went to the counselor and just very casually was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna kill myself if they don't fuck off."
Wow.
And he pulled them in, fucking one by one, every single one of them that bullied me all the way through middle school and shit.
Yep.
And they fucked off. The same guy that called me a fat ass gave me a banana for some reason the next week because it was like banana split day. You just have to bring your banana.
Yeah. That was the game, dude. We used to trade bananas like nothing. Slinging bananas, dude.
But I mean, they left me alone, bro.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
it was kind of fucked, right?
It's just weird, man.
But I mean, it got them to stop. I did not necessarily feel suicidal, but I was just done with the bullshit. And so it also taught them that, hey, some people do end up feeling this way because of what you do to them.
It's true. And honestly, like, it's a hard dynamic because then it's like, okay, well, real life isn't necessarily like that, but like in the adult world, it's just hard. Like, it's harsher. Like in the adult world, like in school, it's like you got adults that can regulate. But in the adult world, who's going to regulate? Other adults? Not really. So
Cops.
if you get bullied in the real world,
The
then
judge,
it's,
jury.
yeah, then it's just that much more serious.
Yeah.
So in a turn, I feel like I'm not justifying bullying, but what I am justifying,
Getting a thick skin, bro.
getting a thick skin, but also just being prepared for the world. You get out into the adult world, and it's like, man, you just get messed up. You just get pumped in the face with just constant just life. I mean, just adversity. And so I think it prepares you well. And I honestly, I'm an advocate for public school in that reason, in that you have to realize what public school is for. It's not for education, bro. It's not.
It's to show work ethic.
Yeah, it's to train you for a
socialize
job.
you.
Yeah, it's to train you for a job. It's to show you social dynamics. Did they intend it to be that way? I have no idea.
No.
Some
Well,
people
I
want to
maybe
think
it
so.
started that way, but it's
Yeah.
just like the world's changed too much, like we talked about last episode.
Oh yeah, and
It's
in
changed.
America too,
Yeah.
because in other countries it's a little different. But in America, if you're not homeschooled, if you go to public school, that's generally what it is you're just experiencing adult life on the macro. You're experiencing a job from 8 to 3 or 8 to 5 or whatever. You're experiencing having to balance this huge chunk of time that's spent out of your day and then figuring out how you're going to do extracurriculars after that. You're experiencing a high workload and high intensity. You're experiencing all those things, and it really is not to educate. It's not. It's to prepare you if you are a I almost said hashtag normal. If you're a quote unquote normal person, that's just generally has no ambition really towards anything specific, and you're just here to work and make your money and find a wife and maybe have some kids and die. That's some people's lives. Maybe join a softball team or something. We talked about that earlier. If that makes you happy, then public school is really a good climate for that. Yeah. It really does help. It helps you see, just to your point, right? Helps you see that not everything's fair. It's never fair. It's not going to be fair, right? And so it prepares you for those. But on the same token, bullying is a problem, because the bad thing about public school is that those things aren't regulated. And that's the whole shtick for
dude. Especially with physical violence, man.
Mm-hmm.
And you're taught in school they say don't fight back.
Yeah.
Because if someone starts pressing charges, then it's just they would rather you win in a court of law than you do fisticuffs.
Yeah.
Because they just don't want as many people to get hurt, and that's part of
adult life too.
Yeah, man.
But it's not the same.
A lot of there's this chick that was on the Joey Diaz podcast too that teaches
Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
In Hollywood, and her like main focus is women and children defending themselves, and says if someone hits you in school, fuck the rules, protect yourself.
Yep. Oh yeah, it's self-defense.
It's so fucked, man. And it's like if you hit back, then you also get out of school suspension or in school suspension.
Yeah.
If it's in self-defense, because it's all hearsay.
And it's tough because then you get into the situation like in middle school. One of the things that was interesting is that I got spit on by some chick that was walking by, and like she spit on my shoe or something, and I didn't do anything about it. And then I went home, and my mother was like, I will kick your ass if you don't kick somebody's ass for doing that to you.
What?
Like do I
know this person?
No, probably not, actually.
Okay.
Very vague. Very
discuss for a second.
very vague person, but yeah, that happened. Got spit on. I went home, told my mom I got spit on. She beat my ass, and then told me that she would beat my ass harder if I didn't beat their ass for doing something like that. Apparently, she thought that it was just too disrespectful for me to even take that, like to even consider taking that. And so that's hard too, because then you play into the home environment for a kid like that. Why are they getting bullied? Or is it because sometimes it's superficial like that? Sometimes it's literally just because they're overweight, or they're into programming or something like that. And sometimes it's because they're poor, and they don't have good clothes. Sometimes it's because they're weird, because they're being molested at home, and then they bring that to school, and they don't know how to socialize with anybody because nobody knows. I mean, this kid's over here crying about his broken Power Ranger, and you're like, well, what about my butthole? So it's like, it's hard. But also what's interesting about school to me is that like, it also enforces camaraderie, because guess what you also do in school when someone's picking on you? You find people like the Sean, where it's like, then Nathan comes back to school the next day, and I'm sure this happens sometimes without us even realizing it, but it was like, or the other way around. Like, I wasn't the coolest cat in school, so I might strategically find a friend, and then you come to school, and then some people are coming by, and they're about to say something to you, and then look at them. I'm like, what?
Well,
what are you going to say?
Even if you do something to at least be able to stick up for yourself, or for yourself, that'll usually at least decrease, if not take away, the horse cockery. Like in 8th grade.
What a word.
In 8th grade, near the end of the school year, but not the end. I'm just gonna call him Benny.
Mm-hmm.
He had a very Italian last name. I think you know who I'm talking about. I remember we were running the fence line, which is only, we run basically the perimeter of the school and back before we do our stretches. And for whatever reason that day, my fat ass felt extra motivated, and I was pushing hard, and the lazy kids who are naturally more toned and can run easier got pissed that I was passing them. Yeah. And so he ran up behind me and just grabbed my foot when I, kicked back, and I'm reaching out on the other leg. He just grabbed my foot, and I just went boom right onto my face,
No, man.
And I got back up, and they were like long past me, and I cried it out for a second, and I was like, this was after like 5 years, 5 school years of just getting fucked with all the time. And I was like, no, this is it. And I ran up behind him and did the same thing, and literally just started kicking him in the ass, just repeatedly, just in between the cheeks as hard as I could. And then eventually they all tackled me and got him off me.
Jeez, if I had been there, dude. That's the other thing, is you got your crew too, man. Like in high school, it's not adult life, so you can't really get that much. If you guys get in a fist fight, it's not like you're not gonna get assault and battery charges.
You might.
You could.
If it's bad enough, bro, you'll get tried as an adult, and they don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's true.
Like 16, 17.
But if you know what you're doing, you can.
People just fly by with the boys.
You can show yourself, but then here's the other thing: is that then it gets into that's also dangerous because then it gets into now they have a vengeance to come at you after hours, which is different. But you roll with your crew. You got Seth the Scrapper, you got Kaishon the big black dude, and you got Nathan. You know, you got and then Hunter. We can use him as a weapon.
You just pick him up by his arm and just whack him with.
But you had a crew, man, and so that's the thing is that that's
you got have friends in good places.
Yeah, strategically, I would recommend that for anybody. Is
like,
that
I would have kept kicking that guy in the ass if people wouldn't have tackled me.
That's true.
But
he had
anyway,
his friends too. He had his
point,
posse.
For the rest of the year, the horse fuckery went down,
All right.
and then it picked back up the start of high school. When
Sure.
I told that story.
Sure.
So anyway, sorry, continue.
Oh no, you're fine. I don't even remember what I was talking about, but we're just talking about posses, man. You got to roll up. We had the crew, man.
If you look, man, people are into the same things you're into.
Yeah.
Or if not, look around, find something new to get into.
Well, that's the other thing is that I don't think enough kids in high school take a moment to look around.
Yeah.
Because you're so, I mean, in that situation as a high schooler, you're in your hormones. Like you honestly think if you're, neurotypical, you honestly think that nobody else is going through the same thing as you. And honestly, you don't even intellectualize it like that. All you know is you're going through something and you're just going through it. So I don't think you even take logic to think, well, what if I strategically place myself in a group of people who are also going through this so that we can all just talk about it and sing Kumbaya and be better, find some acceptance. You don't even think about that. You're just like, this sucks, man. Like what?
I'm going through some shit,
Yeah, exactly. And so it takes, but then, I mean that, to me, I'm a religious guy. I think God works in mysterious ways. He just sends people into your life that's just like, you're just the weirdest combo of people, and it's like, whatever, like this is it, and you'd be surprised at who that is too, it's almost like the gamer chick complex. It's like there could have been 15 to 20 cool chicks in high school that legit were down to play video games with us after school. We didn't even know about it. They don't even talk about it,
That's a complex,
right? I feel like that. I feel like that's a complex. It's like we don't even consider it.
Statistically, is there more popular girls than there are not popular girls?
Yeah, and
if you had to separate them by category, there's probably 52% popular chicks, 48%. What percentage of those chicks probably down to play video games? 3%, and out of a class of 2,500 people, that means 1,251 chicks are down to play video games.
Yeah, it could be that statistic, but it's also this, that could be your in, because this.
That's a game, bro. You're running that.
It's I meant more like social protection, but we can go there too.
Oh yeah, man.
Could be
chicks are. Nothing kills a good nipple square off, where dudes are
then I grow.
Nipples.
Nipple square off. I've never heard of it. That's a good
That's
term.
That's what they do, because they get in their face where it's close enough to kiss, but they don't want to kiss, so they puff their chests out. So they're rubbing nipples, bro. That's what they do.
I just remembered that.
Nothing will separate that quicker than a chick jumping in between. She's like, whoa, we can't hurt girls. Can't hurt girls.
It's true.
So dudes will just...
It's true. And they can they have power, man. If you're into the Gentile life, where you're you're having sex in high school and stuff like that. I'm just kidding. That was super weird.
No, it's for real though.
Right.
when you're a fucking horny as fuck high school kid, dude, chicks will pull you around by your wiener.
Yep, they will. If you get in with Ben's girlfriend, Ben's bullying you, and you talk to his girlfriend, becomes friend with her, she's gonna talk to Ben and so one of two things is gonna happen. Either Ben's gonna come and kick your ass, or Ben's girlfriend is gonna say, you know what, Nathan's pretty chill, you probably shouldn't be she won't say it in front of everybody else, but on the DL, on the down low, back at home, while they're making out or something, it'll come up, be kissing, all of a sudden she'll be like, you know what, I don't think you should bully Nathan anymore. And then they'll go back to kissing or whatever. That probably doesn't happen. But you know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, to go back to that complex, there could be a plethora of chicks that want to play games or whatever, video games, or are into something like no one, if you look at Blondie, right? On the surface, you would never guess that she was into computer programming. You would never guess that, because it's just like, okay, like she's just a popular girl, like just another one,
Yeah.
But on the DL, she's nerdy, man. She can program better than yeah.
She's got 5 monitors up in front of her and
It's
the
crazy.
VR goggles on.
Right? Like that's crazy.
Like she's programming VR, bro.
And so I guess the moral of that story is you should never read a book by its cover, but that's cliche, so I'll put it a different way. You should never underestimate people and what they are into. You should never just look at somebody and say,
dude, you'll
that
never
is...
guess who's into child porn.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking around.
we had to go there,
fucking
man.
around.
Jeez. Louise, cheese, and rice.
I'm fucking around.
No, I'm kidding.
FBI's listening now, though. We got microphones on and I'm saying child porn.
You look at somebody and you'll never know. You never know. Like you said last week,
man.
You look at me. You think I'm a ballroom dance instructor? Do I look like a ballroom dance instructor to you?
The answer's no.
I am. I'm a certified ballroom dance instructor.
But do you look like it?
American
No.
style rhythm and smooth.
All right. So the moral of stories for this week's episode. Let's just wrap it up. This is something we should do. You got to just wrap everything up into.
You gotta take all that info, put it into a silver bullet.
The silver bullet of this week.
Hot pocket delivered straight into your mouth,
Yeah.
oozing
Don't
red
take shit out of context.
goodness.
Do your research, right?
Yeah,
and
it's true.
Try to understand.
That's absolutely true. Try to
Number 2,
understand.
Understand that fairness and balance is not the same thing, and you're gonna have to work hard in your life.
Yep.
Number
You
3,
have to.
don't judge a book by its cover. Get some friends.
Get some friends, man. If you're struggling through stuff right now, listen. If you're being bullied, just like Nathan was, I was bullied for being black sometimes. Not most of the time. Most of the time it was cool, but sometimes, in the adult world, definitely. You have to understand that 1, you're not alone, and 2, to find people like you might not be the process that you think it is. It's not as easy as saying, hey, I like video games. Really? I like video games too. Wow, we should be friends. It's more convoluted than that. But search. Don't give up.
Yeah.
Free.
Oh yeah, the last piece of housekeeping. This is better suited for the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Was the original goal when I started this was to become part of the See You Next Tuesday podcast network, which is where Dick, Asterios, Larry, Denzel, all those good guys are at.
Sure.
But they kind of have a negative overtone besides Brother Larry.
Sure.
And so I was thinking, that's not what I'm about, bro. Like,
It's true.
See You Next Tuesday. The only reason they upload the episodes on Tuesday is so they can call it the Cunt Network.
Oh, jeez.
It's just
Jesus.
funny, offensive kind of thing. But
Right.
I want to spread a more positive message than that, bro.
Yeah. I mean,
So
you gotta...
I started signing everything off with peace and love. It's like that's what the world needs more of, not negative. Like, it's cool to let your rage go.
Yeah.
Talk about the negative shit. I'm sure we'll talk about plenty of negative shit on the podcast in the future. But it's like,
Yeah, it's got to be real, man.
yeah, productive. Like, you don't want to just, if you sit there and listen to a podcast every week about the negative shit in your life and what pisses you off,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna look for more things that piss you off to talk about on your podcast about being pissed off. And
Sure.
That's Dick's whole show. And so it's like, that's how you develop a temperament issue. And it's like, I want to make people's lives better doing this shit.
Yeah. Got to improve the lives. Pretty inspirational message today, but it's got to be laced with a little vulgarity so you know that we're not messing
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I always swear like a sailor. But so anyways,
Peace. And
I will see you next Tuesday, but not because you're a cunt, but
yeah.
because I believe in peace and love.
That's right.
All right, let's play the outro.
Funny story, I actually threw up in front of his office.
Tastes like shit. Don't be gross.
Yellowmouth Yucking provided all your week.
Yuck Yuck. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right.
It's yucking time.
You guys, if you got all the way to here, thanks for putting up with me, Sean, for another hour.
That's right. That's right.
If you want to help support the show, go ahead and go over to patreon.com/yuckyuck for $1 a month. You get a bonus episode. And for $2 a month, you can become part of the intro, outro, as well as getting the bonus episodes. And if you can't afford, the $1 a month or whatever, then, share us on Twitter, Facebook, help spread the word. That's always good, too.
That's right. Watch that Instagram game also, bro.
All right. Yeah. I guess I'll be setting up an Instagram soon, and I'll be putting my Snapchat up on the website at yuckyuckproductions.com.
That's right. All social platforms.
Yeah, we're going to be spreading the word a lot more in the near future. We're going to do a lot more goal-oriented stuff. But
there you go.
Peace and love, brothers and sisters.